In 1946, the US Army unveiled the world's first general-purpose electronic computer. It weighed 30 tons, filled a room the size of a ballroom, and could calculate a shell's trajectory faster than the shell could fly. The press went wild. They photographed the machine. They photographed the generals. They photographed the men who built the hardware. Standing right there in the photos were 6 women. The captions didn't name them. For decades, people assumed they were models, hired to make the computer look good. They were not models. They were the programmers. All of them. And programming ENIAC didn't mean typing. There was no keyboard, no screen, no manual. It meant rewiring the machine. By hand. 3,000 switches. Hundreds of cables. This is the story of how 6 mathematicians invented modern programming and got cropped out of history. Let's back up. It's 1943 and the United States Army has a math problem. Every new artillery gun needs a firing table, a book of numbers telling a soldier exactly where the shell will land. Each trajectory in that book takes a skilled human about 20 hours to calculate by hand. Each gun needs its own book. The Army has a lot of guns. So the Army did the sensible thing. It hired computers. Computer was a job title. A computer was a person. And at the University of Pennsylvania's Moore School, more than 80 of them were women, mathematicians, working around the clock, calculating trajectories with paper, pencil, and desk calculators. There were also some men in the building. History remembers their names fine. Then, in the summer of 1945, 6 of those women were pulled off the floor for a secret project. Kay Mauchly, Jennings, Betty Snyder, Marlyn Wescoff, Frances Bilas, Ruth Lichterman. Remember the names, almost nobody else did. Their new assignment did not officially exist. It was behind a locked door and their security clearances weren't good enough to open it. Behind the door, ENIAC, the electronic numerical integrator and computer. 30 tons, 18,000 vacuum tubes, 40 panels wrapped around a room 30 feet by 50, the machine that was going to turn 20 hours of math into 30 seconds. The 6 were handed the machine's block diagrams, its wiring on paper, and told to figure out how it worked. There was no manual, nobody had written one yet. There was no training course. There was, for quite a while, no machine. They weren't cleared to see it. So Jean and Betty found an empty classroom, sat down with the diagrams, and taught themselves the most complicated machine on the planet. On paper. The first time they saw ENIAC was the day they walked in to program it. This is a photograph of ENIAC's program. Not the back of the machine, the program. Programming ENIAC meant rewiring it. Hundreds of cables, 3,000 switches. Setting up one problem could take days, and getting one switch wrong meant hunting it down by hand. There was no undo. And when the machine broke, and with 18,000 tubes it broke, they invented what we now call debugging. The 6 could trace a fault to a single failed tube, out of 18,000. As well as the engineers who built it, by some accounts better, the Army classified them officially as sub-professionals. Moving on, the war ended before the machine was finished. 30 tons of top-secret electronics and nothing left to shoot at. So in February 1946, the Army decided to introduce its secret computer to the world. A quiet press showing on February 1st, and then on February 15th, the real performance. For an audience of the most important scientists in America. The showpiece, Compute a Shell's Trajectory. Live, in front of everyone. The night before Valentine's Day, 1946, it worked. Almost. The simulated shell flew beautifully, came down exactly where it should, and kept going. Through the ground, it dug a hole. Betty Snyder went home on the last train, and somewhere in the middle of the night, asleep, she found it. She came in the next morning and flipped one switch. Done. February 15th, To make sure the machine looked as good as it computed, the engineers sawed ping-pong balls in half, painted numbers on them, and capped the panel lights. Then they turned the room lights off. A shell takes 30 seconds to fly. ENIAC computed its whole flight in 20. The numbers blinked across the dark, faster than physics. The room lost its mind. Printout sheets were torn off the machine and handed to the audience as souvenirs. February 15, 1946. That night there was a candlelit dinner at Houston Hall to celebrate. Scientists, generals, deans, everyone who mattered. Betty and Jean were not invited. The two women who made the demonstration work went home alone through a very cold February night. The photographs from that room ran in newspapers across the country. The captions named the men. The women standing at the machine, the women who programmed it, were not named anywhere. Some copies went further. Programmer Homay McAllister put it plainly years later. Many copies of the widely circulated picture were cropped to eliminate me from the left side of the photo. So, for about 40 years, the world looked at these pictures and reached a conclusion: models. Decades later, when a young researcher named Kleiman asked who the women were, she was told they were refrigerator ladies, hired to make the machine look good. Kleiman didn't buy it, she dug. She found 6 names in an old manager's memoir, and in 1986, at ENIAC's 40th anniversary, she found the women, alive, with the whole story. She spent years recording it, 20 hours of testimony that exists because one person asked a second question. Recognition arrived in 1997, all 6 inducted into the Women in Technology Hall of Fame. 4 of them were there to accept it in their 70s and 80s. Ruth Teitelbaum had died 11 years too soon. Her husband accepted for her. And they weren't the only ones cropped out. More than 50 other women helped build the machine itself, wiring it. As for the 6, Betty Holberton, she wrote the world's first sort routine and helped write COBOL. Jean Bartik, UNIVAC, one of the first commercial computers on Earth. Kay Mauchly Antonelli, Frances Spence, Ruth Lichterman Teitelbaum, Marlyn Wescoff Meltzer, of whom no clean photograph survives in the public record. The captions are corrected now. ENIAC ran for 9 more years. The 6 went on to help lay the foundations of everything your phone is doing right now. Thanks for watching. Sources, every last one, are pinned below.